They sent me to a nursing home, as if I were an old piece of furniture they needed to clear out to make space. But what they did not expect was that I still owned that house. On my first morning at the nursing home, I opened my eyes to a completely unfamiliar place. There were no grandchildren laughing, no familiar clatter of dishes in the kitchen. Just the cold, sterile white light stretching down the hallways, and a silence so heavy it chilled me to the bone. I had not left my beloved home willingly. I was taken away as part of a well-laid plan. They said it was for my care, for my own good. But beneath those gentle words lay a motive so cold it made my skin crawl. They wanted the house. Inside these 4 stark white walls, I asked myself, is this the fate of the elderly? To silently endure? To quietly let themselves be pushed aside like a thing no longer useful? Or would I stand up? Not to cry or complain, but to reclaim what was rightfully mine, in my own way. Before we dive deeper, I invite you to leave a positive affirmation in the comments below as a commitment to attract good things into your life. Something like, I deserve to live with dignity and freedom, or any heartfelt desire you choose. And do not forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss any content like this. Let's build a space full of positive energy where we all can grow and live true to our values. Now let's turn back time to the moment when everything began to change. I still remember that afternoon vividly when they came to visit me at the nursing home. My son brought a basket of fruit, and my daughter-in-law smiled sweetly as she carried a container of hot porridge. They both sat close to me, speaking words soaked in affection. You just need to rest, Mom. Do not worry about anything. We will take care of everything. Hearing them, my heart warmed, and I truly believed it was all out of genuine love. But that love quickly peeled away, revealing the cold truth beneath the sweet facade. Just a few days later, they handed me a thick stack of papers saying it was just some necessary paperwork, so we can manage your property and ease your burden. The documents were filled with transfer agreements, power of attorney forms, everything focused on just one thing: the house. The home where I had lived my entire life, filled with memories, and the most valuable thing I still owned. I felt uneasy, but then my son smiled and said, "You do not need to read it, Mom. It is just a formality. Trust me. Trust me." Such simple words, yet loaded with so much pressure. How could a mother refuse when hearing that? Old people like me are not gullible because we are foolish. We are simply soft-hearted. We are afraid of bothering our children, afraid of becoming a burden, afraid that if we do not trust or listen, we are the ones at fault. And they, our own flesh and blood, know that very well. They do not need to raise their voices or force us. Just a few sweet words, a comforting touch, and they know we will back down. I realized something was wrong when I visited the house again and found that the locks had been changed. They said it was for better security, but they did not give me a new key. A shiver ran down my spine. Then one day, I accidentally overheard a phone call. If we can sell the house for a good price, it should be enough for the 2 of us, but we need her to sign it soon. It felt like my heart was being crushed. I sat alone for a long time that day, staring out of the small window in the cold, sterile room at the nursing home. Images of my old house filled my mind. The laughter, the tiny footsteps of my grandchildren. Every brick, every window was built from years of hard work by my husband and me. And now it was being targeted, not out of love, but out of pure greed. I started piecing everything together, their so-called loving words, the secretive actions, changing the locks, hiding paperwork, contacting real estate agents and those papers. It was all part of a plan not meant for me, but for what I had. They did not need me. They needed the house, and they knew the fastest way to get it was to make me feel guilty for not agreeing. They said I should relax, enjoy my golden years, let the children take care of things. But in truth, they were simply preparing to erase me from my own life, smoothly and legally. I used to think, well, if it helps them have a better life, maybe it is worth it. But now I see, if I sign, I am not showing love. I am enabling their disrespect and greed, and that I cannot do. Not for money, but for my own dignity and for the lesson it might give to others like me. I cannot let them decide my life. And I know, from this moment on, I have to start making my own plan. But the most heartbreaking part is not losing the house. It is realizing I no longer hold any value in their eyes. The nursing home, a place many elderly people hope will be a safe haven in their final years, to me, is a place where I was sent not because I needed it, but because they wanted me out of the way. Everything here is clean, neat, and peaceful. The staff are kind and someone chats with me every day, but I know very clearly I am not here because I need care. I am here because someone wanted me to disappear from the home I built with my own hands. They wanted me out of their lives as quietly and smoothly as possible. Every evening, I sit and look out through the large glass windows where the soft golden sunlight spills into the room but never seems warm enough to touch the heart. The pastel-colored walls and gentle wordless music cannot fill the emptiness inside me. An emptiness not from old age, but from the silence of those I once loved the most. Sometimes in the quiet afternoons, I catch the eyes of another elderly lady sitting across from me. Her eyes are cloudy like mist, but deep within them is a persistent, aching sense of waiting. Maybe she, too, once gave everything to her family, only to wake up one day and realize she had been set aside like a cracked old bowl no one dares throw away, but no longer needs. The feeling of being betrayed by the very children you loved with all your heart, it is not like ordinary sadness. It is a deep, silent wound, as if the world keeps turning, but you are left standing still in a forgotten room of the past. I remember every day I struggled to keep everything afloat. I remember the nights coming home late from work, my feet aching, still rushing to cook dinner so my children could eat a hot meal. I remember every penny I saved to pay for their schooling, to buy books, to buy each brick, each sheet of metal that built the house where they now say, "Mum should leave it to us." I once wondered, maybe I did something wrong, but then I realized I did not. I simply no longer offered them anything they needed, and that hurts more than anything else. Not the abandonment itself, but realizing I was seen as a burden that needed to be dealt with. Old people do not ask for much, just to feel they still matter. A sincere question about their day, a familiar seat at the old kitchen table, a look of trust. But when all that disappears, you do not just lose a place to live, you lose the very sense of who you are. People often think growing old means becoming weak and needing care. But sometimes what the elderly need most is to maintain a role in their own lives. When you strip away their right to choose, their right to speak, even their right to exist in their own homes, they do not just grow old, they wither away. I once gritted my teeth and endured it all, telling myself, as long as the children are doing well, it is worth it. But then I asked myself one simple, gut-wrenching question. If I no longer had that house, would they still come visit me? The answer was clearer than ever, and it left me speechless. Not everyone who ends up in a nursing home is unfortunate, but being sent here under false pretenses, quietly discarded, that is a brutal slap to the trust and love I gave so completely. I realized it was time for a change. I needed to stop sacrificing blindly. I could not let my old age pass by in silence and regret. I could not let them, the ones who were once my entire world, steal away the last bit of trust I had left. And that was when something began to spark inside me. Not anger, but awakening. I sat in that nursing home room day after day, trying to find excuses for what they had done. Maybe they were still young and did not understand. Maybe they were too busy, too burdened with life. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized I was simply trying to justify a truth that was already too clear. They did not need me. They only needed the house that bore my name. And it was in that realization that I truly woke up. People often say the greatest pain is not being abandoned, but being abandoned by those you trusted the most. I once thought I was the mother, the grandmother, the rock of the family. Yet the moment I could no longer create wealth, could no longer give anything, I became disposable. A shadow that needed to be removed from their picture-perfect life to make room for their more stable plans. It was a moment that choked me, like something caught in my throat, unable to cry, unable to speak. But it was also the moment a part of me, the part that was used to sacrificing, staying silent, enduring, began to die. And another part, stronger and clearer, was being born. That day, I asked one of my grandchildren to take me home, to get a few things. I knew they did not like it, but they could not refuse. I stepped into the old house, the one I once thought would be where I would live out my days. They had changed the furniture, repainted the walls, even moved the family altar to another spot. But there was one thing they could not touch, the old filing cabinet where I kept all the important papers. And I found it, the title deed, in my name, and the original documents for the loan I had once paid off to build that house. Every word, every stamp felt like a reminder. This is your sweat, your blood, your tears. No one has the right to take it away. I folded the papers, slipped them into my bag, and from that moment on, I was no longer a weak old woman. I was the owner of my own life. I did not sign anything. I did not need to fight. I did not need tears. I simply walked away from the game they thought I did not understand. I knew very well, if I signed, I would lose everything. But if I held on to my rights, I would not only keep the house, I would keep my dignity. Because I asked myself, why should I let the ungrateful reap the fruits of someone who loved them unconditionally? I had given them everything, and they responded with coldness. It was time for love to stop being an excuse for being taken advantage of. I did not need to shout. I did not need to sue anyone. I did not need to fight over anything. I only needed to stand with clarity, with trust in myself, and with a decision strong enough to leave them no way back. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is not to fight back with anger, but to walk away, quietly, but in full control. I had been silent for too long, had softened my heart too many times, had put others above myself for an entire lifetime. But this time, I would not let them decide for me. I was awake now, and when an old person awakens, it means there is nothing left to lose and no one left to flatter. After retrieving the house papers, I did not argue. I did not need to prove I was right, because the truth does not need to be shouted. I simply sat down and wrote a short letter to a lawyer. I want to sell the house. No transferring, no gifting, no asking anyone to manage it for me. I will handle it myself. That was enough. Some people said I was reckless. Some called me cold. But only I knew. If I did not do this, they would come back. They would continue to bind me into the family like a tangled emotional debt, binding and demanding all at once. I did not want to spend the rest of my life in a house filled with fake silence and calculated hugs. And so I sold the house. I did not sell it to my children. I did not leave it for my grandchildren. I refused to turn my home into someone's trophy. I sold it to a young couple. They stepped into the house with sparkling eyes, not because of its monetary value, but because they dreamed of building a home. In them, I saw the image of myself years ago, when my husband and I built everything from scratch. I took that money and moved to a completely new place. No one knew who I was. No one called me Mom or Grandma or a burden. There, I was just an older woman, free to live however she wanted. I signed up for painting classes. Each brushstroke on the canvas washed away a piece of my past. I painted skies, fields, little wooden cottages by lakes, places I had never touched when I was younger. I travelled to places I had always put off, thinking later, but never went. I sat alone in small roadside cafes, savouring every bite of food as if there had never been anyone to interrupt meals with complaints and judgments. I knew I was living, no longer just existing. I donated part of the money to community funds, places that truly needed help, orphaned children, lonely elderly people, the homeless. I did not do it to be recognised. I did it because I knew what it felt like to be abandoned. I did not need anyone's gratitude. I just needed to know that I still had something to give, and this time it would be to the right people. I also rewrote my will, a short, clear document. Those who once tried to force me to sign papers would receive nothing. Not a dime, not an inch of land, not out of hatred, but because they did not deserve it. I wanted what little I had left to be sown where it could blossom, not buried under greed. I did not seek revenge. I was not bitter. I did not need anyone to pay for what they had done. I only needed to reclaim what I had lost for far too long, the right to make my own choices, the right to live with dignity, and the right to say no to anyone who tried to turn me into a shadow in my own life. Many people asked me, "Do you not feel lonely?" I smiled. I had once been lonely inside my own home, surrounded by my family. Now, I was simply alone, but no longer lonely. I had made a sharp turn, quietly, without drama, but deeply, and just in time. Because in the end, life does not reward those who sacrifice endlessly. Life saves its best for those who dare to choose again, even after walking most of the road. I am not the winner. I am simply the one who is still standing and still dares to move forward. From the moment I decided to take control of my life, I realized something I should have understood long ago. Growing old is not the time to surrender everything. It is not because we are weaker, but because the older we get, the more we need to stay sharp. The more we need to know what to keep, what to let go of, and, most importantly, who truly deserves our trust. People often say that at this age, we should learn to let go. But what to let go of and what to hold on to, that is the clearest test of a lifetime. Let go of resentment, yes. Let go of toxic relationships, absolutely. But never let go of the right to control your own life. Never hand over your house deeds, your bank accounts, your important papers, or even your reputation to those who have never walked a day in your shoes. Holding on to your financial independence is holding on to your right to live. It is keeping your right to be heard, to be respected, to decide what you eat, where you live, and even how you leave your legacy behind. People will only truly respect you as long as you still have the power to say no. If you give everything away under the banner of trust, one day you will realize not everyone who shares your blood shares your heart. Old age is not about fearing loneliness. It is about fearing fake affection. It is about being trapped in a circle of duty where, behind every smile, there is a calculation. It is about visits that are not about love, but about checking if you have changed your mind yet. Ask yourself honestly, if tomorrow you no longer had your house, no longer had your savings, would they still come to visit you? The answer might leave you in silence for a long while, but within that silence you will find the truth, and that truth will show you exactly what you need to do before it is too late. Do not wait until you are placed in a nursing home to sit and count everything you have given away. Do not let a single piece of paper, a transfer document, determine the rest of your life, especially when you have never truly lived for yourself. Understand this: anyone who sees you as a burden does not deserve to inherit anything you leave behind. Not because you are selfish, but because you have loved in the right way, at the right time. And now, it is time to love yourself. Old age is not the ending. Old age is the part of life that deserves to be lived with the greatest clarity and courage, because you have gone through enough to truly understand the value of every moment that remains. Do not let silence be the only thing left in your later years. Silence out of fear of upsetting others. Silence out of fear of being labelled selfish. Silence because you think it is too late to start over. No, it is never too late. As long as you are breathing, you still have the right to live fully. We, the ones who have weathered life's storms, are not weak. We only need to be reminded that we have the right to choose, the right to refuse fake sympathy, the right to hold on to what is rightfully ours, the right to write the final chapter of our lives in the most beautiful way. Speak up. Do not stay silent any longer. Teach the next generation that family ties should never be exchanged for material gain, and that true filial piety cannot be used as an excuse for exploitation. If you are still listening, I invite you to leave a comment below as a way to affirm yourself. I deserve to live with dignity and freedom. Or any message you would like to send to yourself as a commitment to begin a new chapter. And if you find this message meaningful, please like the video, subscribe to the channel so you do not miss upcoming content. Every share, every comment you leave is a message to the community that elderly people are never expendable. Let us create a generation of seniors who are courageous, who dare to speak, who dare to live, and who dare to move forward.